YouTube, and welcome back to my review of this codex, new Tyranids. If you've watched part 1, welcome back. If you've not, go back and watch it. So, where I left off, I was just about to talk about psychic powers. If I can actually find them. Where the hell are they? That's one gripe I've got about this book, is it's gone back to the old ways of back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. Nothing's in everything's in a certain place, but it's all dotted about. So there's a lot of page turning you got to do. So with the psychic powers, they've got a little story bit right at the top here, which is really nice. Just explaining that Perils in the Warp isn't Perils of the Warp, it's more strain or a blood clot by the Tyranid is struggling with the hive mind and the power of the hive mind. So it's not perils, it's your brain exploding inside your head. So yeah, as for basic powers, I'm not going to do detailed review. If you want a detailed review, Mini Wargaming Jay, pretty sure does a detailed review. I haven't watched all his things because his first video of it put me off, because he was just like, oh, this is a bad codex, blah. And so I didn't watch it. I'm making my own opinions. So yeah, the Primaris power, just a blessing that extends the synapse range by 6 inches. That is amazing. For someone who doesn't run overly amount of synapse, run 2, maybe 3 units per army, depending on my army composition. That is really useful. Considering the instinctive behaviour can be a bit random. Oh yeah, fearless across my army still. The number 1 psychic power is Catalyst, which gives the Psyker in his unit and a unit within 12 inches. That's and. I had to read that through a few times. Gives them both feel no pain. So you give 2 units feel no pain. Which is... my Hive Tyrant casts that. My Hive Tyrant and Tyrant Guard have feel no pain, and random unit Hormigans feel no pain. Or Carnifex with feel no pain. Brilliant. Second power is Horror. I might have got that wrong in my first game, but it's called the Horror. Not game. First review, I called it Hypnotic Gaze, which was an old psychic power. It's the Horror. Malediction with 24-inch range. Your opponent takes a pinning test at -2 leadership. Again, that's going to pin most of your opponents half the time. Broodlord gets that as standard. So, yeah, that's pretty good. Next one, Onslaught. Same as it used to be. You can run and shoot. Blessing. But they've increased the range. All the ranges of these increased. 12 for Catalyst, 24 for the Horror, 24 for Onslaught. Yeah, run and shoot. That's useful for warriors. I mean, turn 1, your Death Spitters, they're out of range because they're only 18. So being able to move 6, run D6 is going to put you in range. Like, guarantee. I mean, 24. If both 24 apart, you might just be that millimetre in range without the run, but that run guarantees it, unless your opponent's like sat back, which is nice. Number 4, Paroxysm. It stayed the same, but sort of the same. Just reduces your opponent's weapon skill and ballistic skill by D3. Again, as I said in my first video, weathering the field of fire, getting across the board is what we really struggle with as Tyranids. So both the Horror and Paroxysm, reducing my opponent's ballistic skill and pinning their other units. You know, your opponent's army is going to be snapshotting half the bloody time with these. Especially if you take units like Zoanthropes, Hive Tyrants, and even Tervigon gets a psychic power. So, yeah. Next one, Psychic Screech. This one I don't like. It's one of the few ones that doesn't work, because it's a Nova with a 6-inch range. That, to me, is relatively useless because I never get the sort of chance to really use it properly. I can use it in combat, but 6-inch range isn't a massive amount. But it's like the Psychic Screech spell from Telepathy. You roll 2d6 and add 2, subtract your opponent's leadership and cause that many wounds. No armor saves or cover saves. So, on an average leadership of 9, you're not doing any damage unless you're rolling well. So it's not great. 2d6 plus 2, the average is 9, and 7 plus 2. So useful if you roll if you roll boxcars like double 6. Useless if you're rolling a double 1. It's a bit too random and a bit too short range for my liking. Number 6 spell. It's the only 2 warp charge spell. The rest are 1, but it's Warp Blast, and that's taking the old warp plants and the old warp blast spell and put them into one Witchfire. So, like a missile launcher, you shoot template, which is strength 5 AP3 with a 24-inch range, or the lance weapon, which is 18-inch range, strength 10 AP2 now, not AP1, but only 18-inch range. Zoanthropes get that as standard, and special rule with the Zoanthropes is for each one you have, you can fire Warp Blast again. So if you have 3, you fire 3 Warp Blasts. You fire. If you've got 1, you shoot 1. So that's the Psychic powers for Tyranids, and I think, though none of them are outstandingly good, they all work. They all do something really useful for you. Yeah, I mean, they're all debuffs for your opponent. Tyranids are becoming control. It's pinning your opponent and reducing their blister skill, as I've said, really useful. Again, giving you if you can get Catalyst, the Horror, and Paroxysm in your army, that's amazing because you're giving Feel No Pain out, you're giving pinning checks out, and you're reducing weapon skill and ballistic skill, which is brilliant. Because even when you get into combat, your opponent's only hitting you on 6s majority of the time if you reduce it by 3. And then the weapon skill 1. So your Hormigants, who are only weapon skill 3, it's going to hit Marines on 3. So Marines are hitting you on 5s. Which is what I found when I played my Blood Angels opponent. My battle report. Which was just really nice. Rules of the new models. Well, Tyranid Warriors. Still, as I said in my first video, I really don't consider them to be new. They've just got a new kit. Where are we at? Raveners. Here we go. The Exo Crane. Yep, that's it. One with a big gun. Nothing too impressive. It's your standard sort of monstrous creature across the board. Same sort of thing as a Tyrannifex. Weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, strength 6, toughness 6 with 5 wounds, and a 3 up armour. It's got the hunt instinctive behaviour, which means if it fails its instinctive behaviour, it's going to shoot something, hopefully. A funky rule, it gets +1 ballistic skill if it stands still, which is nice, considering its weapon. Its weapon made me giggle slightly. It's called a bioplasmic cannon. It's got 2 fire types. And both 24-inch range. They're both strength 7 AP2, but one's a large blast and one's assault 6. You know, if you're standing still and upping your ballistic skill, the assault 6 one's alright. Depends on what you're shooting at. If your opponent's frag formation, 2 inches apart, might be useful to shoot the assault one. But I think people are going to fire the blast majority. But strength 7 AP2, you're firing a large blast plasma cannon, which I think Tyranids really did need. We need AP2 weapons. Because all we had before was Bioplasma. We've still got Bioplasma, it's still the same points, it's still 20 point upgrade for a Carnifex. Still means the Carnifex is only 140 points, but yeah, the Exocrane, its weapon is pretty good. If I remember rightly, it's quite cheap in points as well. Maybe not. It's 170 points. So I don't know whether it will compete with a Tyrannifex, which is 175, but who knows? We're going to have to cut it out again. I'll see you in the next video.